Good morning. It's a beautiful sunny day here in South Africa, and what I wanted to talk to you about today is culture shock. And I want to explain to you what that is, when you might experience it, when you're going abroad to teach English or traveling to a new country to live out there, or just traveling for the first time, and what you can expect when it comes to getting this extremely weird experience and having it happen to you. And also some strategies for dealing with culture shock and what you can do to maybe not avoid it. I think it is somewhat inevitable, but how you can get through it effectively so that you can adjust and get used to the new country you're in. I also want to tell you a little bit about reverse culture shock, which I didn't even know if it was a real thing until yesterday. So let me crack into it and I'll tell you a little bit about what I experienced when it comes to reverse culture shock.
Hey Tops. Hey Topsy. Oh, getting in the sun there.
So I just got back from a busy day, went shopping, got some new clothes, got a haircut, and actually saw the new Star Wars movie, which was pretty cool. And I was actually really impressed with the cinema here in Durban, South Africa. It's like pretty modern. You like order all the tickets on screens, and you can get your popcorn and stuff on there, and you just hand in the ticket and they give it to you. Yeah, and it was just a normal day, like a really nice normal day, and I felt good and calm and settled. But that was in stark contrast to the day before, when I went to a market. And I went out with my parents. We went to this market. It's a really cool market. It has music playing, lots of cool, interesting people out there, families, young people. They're selling all sorts of stuff. My parents actually have a stall there selling collectibles, but there's like food and just a really good vibe. And by all accounts, it should have just been a really good day. I should have been feeling great and enjoying it and just going with the flow and having a good time. But I felt really, really weirded out. So I'm going to call this reverse culture shock. I don't really know if there's a real definition for this. I've heard some people talk about it. What I felt was just so out of place. I felt like I didn't know where I was. I started to feel like threatened, which is the weirdest thing ever because there's absolutely no threats to me. But because I was in a new environment, because it's been so long since I've been in South Africa, I just felt strange, weirded out. It's really hard to describe, but if you've read Robert Heinlein, he wrote a 1960s novel called Stranger in a Stranger's Land, which is about a human born on Mars and then comes back to Earth. And he has this experience of trying to readjust to living on Earth, and it's just all really strange to him, hence the title, and he has to get used to it. And that's what it's like when you go to a new country, in a new environment. Everything's different and your brain just doesn't know how to process it. Obviously there's a lot of similarities and I'm actually used to it because it's my home country. That's why it only lasted a day or so. But that reverse culture shock that I experienced was very real, and I just I started to get a bit negative, and I was like, I don't belong here. It's a strange place to me. This isn't home. And it was it was kind of tough. So that's what happened to me yesterday, and I guess it was kind of a reverse culture shock coming back home after being abroad. But what is culture shock really? Well, it's one of those terms where there isn't really an agreed definition of what it is, and the reason for that is it is a subjective experience that you have when you go to a new country. So it's hard to describe what that is. What I think it comes down to is the fact that a lot of our lives are actually quite routine, and everything we see and do is quite familiar to us. But if you're taken out of that and put into a different environment, it's only natural that your brain is just going to freak out and it's going to be like, what is happening here? What is going on? And even go into like panic survival mode. Now, that causes all sorts of weird thoughts and feelings. You might see some of my videos on Vietnam or South Korea and you like see all the images and you're like, yeah, it looks different, but how different can it really be? Well, that experience you get of being in that different environment really throws you off. Alright, so what can you do about culture shock? Because if you're going to a new country, there's a chance you're going to experience it really strongly. And if that's the case, then you want to have some strategies to deal with it. Well, the first thing I would suggest is just be easy on yourself. Don't try and think that you have to be a hero like going into this new country. Of course, you do get that feeling when you arrive, like, wow, this is awesome, this is amazing. But then that can quickly switch over to, oh no, what have I done? So that's the first thing I would say is don't catastrophize it. Don't say, I've made a mistake. What am I doing in this strange country with thousands of motorbikes everywhere? Vietnam, for example. And, why am I here? I made a mistake. I'm going home. Just give yourself a bit of time. So don't have these final thoughts about things. Just realize that what you're feeling is going to be like that for a while, but it can and probably will pass. And don't forget that you're usually flying into a different time zone, so you might be a little jet lagged. That also exacerbates it a lot. And you may also just have not got a lot of sleep on your flight, so that all factors in as well. So give yourself some time to rest up. Don't try and do anything hectic in the first few days. Maybe if you've got some job interviews lined up for teaching jobs, or you're starting a TEFL course out in Vietnam or Thailand or Cambodia, arrive a couple of days before so you've got some time to adjust. Then the second thing I'm going to suggest is something that you may think is kind of like a bit woo-woo and is strange, and I'm getting a bit philosophical here, but trying to accept the moment and be mindful of the situation you're in, be mindful of your thoughts and your identity and your ego all being challenged, So this comes down to a practice that I've been doing for 5 years, almost every single day, and that's meditation, which is just being mindful to the thoughts in your head and the way you feel. So just feel that feeling, allow that strangeness and that outsider feeling and all of the weird stuff that's going to come up. Just accept it and let it go, and just realize that it's a state of mind that will pass and you'll get through that. If you want to check out a book on this, you can look into The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. It's really not even spiritual, it's just being mindful. It's how to be in the present moment and just accept it. And I think more than anything, that's what's going to allow you to get through that tough initial period of culture shock and just deal with it in a way that, you won't be hard on yourself. Be present to that moment and the feelings that you have, and let yourself start to slowly and surely adjust so that in, not too long at all, you'll be ready and set to take on all the challenges and get settled in. Alright, so leave a comment below and let me know what your thoughts are on culture shock. Have you experienced it before? Are you worried about experiencing it? Do you think I'm just being really lame and that this doesn't even exist? Maybe some people think that. But I have experienced it on multiple occasions, and I'd be interested to hear what everyone else has found with that too. Alright, so if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, make sure you're subscribed to the channel for more videos about life and teaching English abroad. And I'll speak to you soon in another video. Peace.